Aloha, and welcome to the Believer's Journey. I want to thank you again for joining us. I want to thank all of our sponsors, Guerrero CPA, Allison Thompson Insurance, Trade Show Displays. I want to thank the people who support us in your prayers, support us financially, all of you who watch the program, all of you who comment, who write questions. You know that I do get back to you. If you haven't subscribed to our channel, I ask that you do so. It seems like maybe about 10% of you are subscribed, but it's really fairly easy. If you want to hit like, and if you have a comment or a question, totally feel free to ask me and I will get back to you. Today, I want to talk to you about created in the image of God. It's really kind of nice as you look at the palm trees in the background. It's really amazing. Hawaii is just one of these places to me that is just home. It's just gorgeous. It's just beautiful. Coconut palms are one of my favorite trees in all the world. And it's so nice because I can't grow them at home. They freeze to death in the wintertime. So it's kind of a pleasantry to come and listen to the breeze and the leaves and branches blow in the wind. So anyway, as we get to this passage, I want to read actually many verses 24 on the first chapter all the way to 28 or 29, maybe even down to 31. So I want you to listen to this, and there's a couple things I want to pull out. And the reason I'm doing this particular lesson is because I've had many posts about creation. For example, there are people that are wondering or think that God made us in his image, and we have fingers and hands and toes and feet and a mouth and all these things that look exactly like God because he made us in his image. And there's other people that say that, God created man, Adam, in his image, but he didn't create the woman in his image. He only created in man's image. And then there's those people who say, well, that God saw that the first 5 days were good, but the sixth day, he never said it was good. So I want to hit those and highlight that and be able to show you that those things are not true and what it is true about this. So starting at verse 24 in chapter 1, it says, "And God said, let the land produce living creatures according to their kinds, the livestock, the creatures that move along the ground, and the wild animals, each according to its kind. And it was so." And verse 25, God made the wild animals according to their kinds, the livestock according to their kinds, and the creatures that move along the ground according to their kind. And God saw that it was good. 26. Now here's the key passage right here. Verse 26. And then God said, let us make man in our image, in our likeness. Okay, let's stop real quick right there. So what are we talking about when we talk about God's image? For those of you who think that, we look like God in a mirror, we looked in a mirror, that's what God would look like, maybe a little more handsome, who knows? But I have to tell you that there are passages that it says that God has wings. So, I don't think that we are the identical spit image of God in our physical nature. The body that we were created with was created for the earth. And when we leave here into eternity, we're going to have a new body. It's going to be different it's going to be for the body, for the area we live in. Okay. So what is the image of God? What it is that it's the moral image of God. God is holy. Okay. And from his holiness, we have things like love and gentleness and peace and trustworthiness and faithfulness. And we have anger, we have lust, we have truth, we have kindness, and we have patience. If you look in Galatians chapter 5, verses 22 and 23, the fruit of the Spirit, those are characteristics of God, but those are also characteristics that God created in us, because it said, let us make him man in our image. So when we talk about God's image, we're talking about a moral likeness, something that comes from holiness. Now, God is called us in Leviticus, Deuteronomy, and First Peter, in other places too. He calls us to be holy, calls us for holiness, to live righteously. And I think that when we think about God's image, we're talking about his moral image, his holiness. So God has created us in an innocence of holiness. And the next part of this verse is really gonna hit it really hard. And I think this is kind of cool. He says he makes us in our image and our likeness so that they may rule over the fish in the sea and the birds in the sky, over the livestock and all the wild animals, and all over the creatures that move along the ground. What did God just do there? God gave mankind dominion over the earth. Okay? He gave us sovereignty over the earth, if you will. I mean, he gave us dominion. He put it in our control. But it says in the first part of 26, let us make them in our image and our likeness so that they can do this. So I really believe what God did was he created this image within us that are godlike characteristics so that we would take care of his creation. Okay, I think that has a lot to do with that, and as well as the fact that he wants us to be holy like he is holy in our nature, in a way we deal with people, deal with the earth, deal with animals and things like this. So I think it's really important we look at that. And I think that this makes sense to me when we talk about, how were we created in God's image? Okay, let's go to verse 27. So God created mankind in his own image. In the image of God, he created them. Okay, them. Male and female, he created them. So for those of you that are saying, well, God didn't create Eve in God's image, he only created Adam in God's image, but not Eve. He created Eve in Adam's image. Well, the scripture here says that Eve was created, or the female women were created in God's image. So you can't take that away from them. Okay, that's really, really important to understand this. He created men and women in his image, okay, in his likeness. So I think that we go back to his moral character. Since we have a male and a female are very different physically, most likely we're talking again about a moral image, not a physical image. So again, it goes back to where I'm teaching that I believe it's a moral image that we've been created in God with God. Okay, so I think it's important we do this. We don't all you guys that think that we're higher and better and so forth because we're created in God's image and women are not. That's false, and you need to retract that because the scripture says differently. Okay, let's go to verse 28. 28 says, God blessed them, and he said to them, be fruitful and increase in number. Okay, fill the earth and subdue it. Rule over the fish in the sea and the birds in the sky and over every living creature that moves on the ground. Okay, and 29, he says, then God said, I give you every seed-bearing plant on the face of the whole earth and every tree that has fruit with seed in it. They will be yours for food. Okay, here we even have what we're going to eat. Number 30, and to all the beasts of the earth and all the birds in the sky and all the creatures that move along the ground, everything that has breath of life in it. And I give you green plants for food. Notice he didn't say he gave us the birds and the beasts and the creatures. He gave us the food, or the trees and the plants, okay? And then he says, and it was so, okay? And then verse 31, okay? God saw that all he had made, and it was very good. And there was evening, and there was morning, the sixth day. So the fallacies of woman wasn't created in God's image, it's a fallacy. It's not scriptural. They were created in God's image. Both men and women are. The fact that God didn't say the sixth day was good. He said all of it was good. Everything he made was good. And so we have to understand that also. And I like the thing, that we are made in his image. What are we looking at? We're looking at moral image. We're looking at being holy. God calls us to be holy. He calls us to live righteously. He calls us to become like him. We need to be imitators of God, imitators of Jesus, to walk like Jesus. There's so many scriptures that talk about living like and becoming like Jesus, becoming like God, living in a fashion that represents God. So in this manner, I think is what we need to look at when we're looking at the idea of what we were made at, like who are we in God's image? Again, if God is created us a man and a woman, and we both are very different physically, then obviously, God couldn't have created one and not the other and say, well, we're both created in his image. So it just doesn't make sense. So I like this a lot. And in the last thing, which is in the middle here, God gave us dominion over all the earth. We're to take care of the earth. We're to take care of the animals, the earth, the plants, and everything around us, the sea, the birds, each other. And I think this is really, really important to our survival on earth. And I think it's important to our holiness, the nature that God has created us. Again, we go back to the scripture. It says he created us in his image so that we can rule over the fish and the birds and the livestock and the animals. So there was a purpose in creating us, to take care of the earth. And he did this. He created us in innocence, and he created us holy, and he created us with these attributes that are godly. And I think that's so important that we look at that. We seek holiness, we seek God, and we seek his face. And in this first chapter of Genesis, I think it's just remarkable what we see. And I just wanted to make sure I captured a few of these things that I've been watching on posts and questions, and I wanted to kind of knock them down and say, we need to look at scripture and stop thinking outside the box without looking at scripture yourself. I love looking outside the box, but you can't do it if you're doing it aside from scripture. The scripture tells us what it's about, and I think we need to follow that. And as we follow the scripture, then basically we're going to be following what God teaches us and why he created us. Okay. Well, I want to thank you again for joining me. I should be home soon. We're visiting 3 islands in Hawaii: Oahu, Hawaii, and the Big Island. So basically, I'm enjoying my time here. My wife has her school events, and we're hosting some missionaries, and it's just lovely. And I just appreciate everybody who is watching our program and who subscribes to our program. And if you have any questions at all on this lesson or anything else, please feel free to write. If you want to go to our website at www.thebelieversjourney.net, you can get our email address, and you can email, and I'll be glad to answer you privately if there's a private email. And again, thank you. And everyone, you all have a wonderful day, a wonderful week, and aloha.